Even an increasingly deadly state crackdown hasn't stopped them. Iranians across the country keep calling for the toppling of Ayatollah Khameni. They told him responsible for the death of Mahsa Amini. Many people targeted by the Islamic Republic's security forces avoid treatment in hospitals for fear of being arrested. Instead, help comes from 10,000 kilometers away. Dr. Kaiban Mekhani, an Iranian-American doctor, is chief of internal medicine at the Clifton Springs Hospital in New York. He offers medical advice online. Dr. Mekhani, thank you so much for making time for Deutsche Welle. So maybe you can walk us through how this works. So people send you pictures of their injuries, and how do you get in contact with them? How do you answer their questions?
I've developed a system where I tell my followers to put SOS in their messages, because I also get a lot of different other messages coming in. Then I triage the ones that are the most sick and in need of care. I ask them where they live. Mind you, some of the messages seem very suspicious, almost they're fishing for more information or doctors that are willing to participate. So I have to differentiate between the message that's real and those that I feel like they're coming from fake accounts. So I have to review their account information. I have to see if they have messaged me before the last 3 years in my page about my children or other things. Then I know it's a reliable source. I look at their injury. If I can help them over Instagram, sometimes I ask for images of their leg or their arms. I look at it to the best of my ability. I tell them what to do. If I can guide them towards going to the hospital with a different story, I will teach them how to do that. Say, I'm a kickboxer and I got hit in the head and now this is going on. So sometimes I guide them towards getting care in the hospital. Then I have a team of doctors that I've built relationship with over the last 3 years during COVID, and I feel like they're safe. And then I connect the two. My wife is also involved. She's a social worker, so she's very good at making the connection. And a lot of them go and see the doctor. Most of the time, it's secret. In secrecy, they have to actually say certain words and sentences to be able to see that doctor. And I've learned those from the doctors that they're my colleagues in Iran. Like, they have to say, Mr. Whatever referred me to you for this. It might be like a weight loss clinic that are actually taking out sutures or they're taking out pellets. So the situation is very convoluted. But I guess the easiest example I can give you is like that.
So, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the most common injuries you're seeing.
The most common are wounds from pellets. They can be from bird shots. Majority are bird shots because they're multiple, anywhere from 20 pellets to 50 to 100. And now I'm seeing injuries with paint gun, where the actual bullet is metal. It's not from a paint. So I'm seeing a larger wound with necrotic surrounding. They don't penetrate inside the body, but again, if they don't take care of that wound, it can become infected and they can be septic. But the pellets are actually penetrating where they can severe arteries, and it can cause damage to the nerves. If they're in a joint, they have to be operated on. So my job is kind of triaging, like, who really needs to go see an orthopedic surgeon, who really needs to go to the ER, how dangerous these gunshot wounds are. I'm also seeing a lot of second and third degree burns from electrical batons that they're using. A lot of these burns need medical attention, like IV antibiotics, IV fluids, large bruises throughout their body from fighting with the police or falling down while they're running away. These can turn into compartment syndrome, plantar fasciitis, necrotizing fasciitis. These are very life-threatening conditions where sometimes I get an image, 3 days later, I get a follow-up image that I say, oh no, you have to go see a surgeon right now. Let me find you one. But the conditions where they're operating on these individuals are suboptimal. They're not the normal conditions you would see in our countries here.
How is the supply situation in hospitals in Iran?
I'm glad you asked that. It's the first time I've been asked that question. It's very scarce. Medication, especially antibiotics, because of this situation. A lot of people are getting shot. So they have to take prophylactic antibiotics. I just found out the other day that many pharmacies do not have enough supplies to give to people. So a lot of people are just using maybe home remedies or putting honey in their wounds for healing. And in terms of whether they need surgical procedures, a lot of them are using tweezers that they're disinfecting over a candle fire and just using that. They're not using actual surgical instruments. If they end up going to a clinic that's private and safe, they will get decent care of their wounds. But again, my biggest fear is the low supply of antibiotics and also tetanus vaccine, because a lot of these individuals will need tetanus boosters, and they're running low on that too.
You have been offering medical advice online now for weeks. Is the situation getting worse? How would you describe it?
I think it's as bad as it was 3 weeks ago. I continuously get questions about injuries. I'm not seeing a decrease in the number of SOS messages that I get on my Instagram. That's why I'm kind of reaching out to the community outside of Iran for help. And I do feel hopeless at some points because I cannot keep up with all these messages.
How many messages do you get, doctor?
I extrapolated based on an hourly message, close to 300 to 500 messages a day, every 24 hours.
What is your main channel you get these images?
It's Instagram, my page, Dr. K, which I started the page 3 years ago when COVID started, so it gained significant popularity in Iran. I think it has become their number source of medical information right now.
What about internet censorship? Is it difficult for your patients in Iran to contact you via Instagram and other social media platforms?
Yeah, there's times where I don't receive any messages, and I know there's some sort of censorship or block going on the internet. Sometimes there's a delay where somebody is at a friend's house bleeding out of their leg, and they're waiting to send that message to me. Just imagine that you're responsible for helping somebody many thousands of miles away, and you're not even able to receive their message. Like they're sending an image of somebody. I had a patient that got shot in the eye, but the picture was not coming to me because how slow the internet was. So even from like a technological standpoint, making the connection of trying to get help is getting more difficult. So, it's just getting very hard for them to take care of themselves.
That brings me to my question, doctor. What could the international community do to help people in Iran, protesters in Iran?
I feel hopeless. Unless something happens that, they're able to go to the hospital, go see their doctors. I feel like, I see no light down the tunnel, to be honest with you. But I do have a lot of other doctors, a lot of nurses inside Iran, outside of Iran, all trying to help. And that's really what gets me going. The unity the Iranian people have to help each other.
What keeps them going?
I don't know. I talk to a lot of my Iranian people, and they feel like this time it's different. There's a unity, in all of Iran and outside of Iran. I don't know if you saw 50,000 people came out in Toronto just in support of what's going on in Iran. They feel that unity. A lot of my messages are there's hope in them, even though what's happening. I just had a young girl last week who went out. There was the takeover of the Sharif University, and she was one of the ones that went to make a commotion so that they let the students go. She came back to me, sent a picture of her nose and said, "Oh, they broke my nose." And I felt so sad. I said, "I'm sorry to put this story so that you go and get hurt." She's like, "No problem. I will give my whole body for what's going on. I'll go back again tomorrow as long as you say it's okay. If the bleeding stops, I'm going to go and protest again." So I think it's the new generation. It's the unity that they have. They want change. It's different. It's definitely different.
Thank you so very much for this conversation. And I wish you strength, and maybe we can catch up at some point. Thank you, sir.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.